Leryx sat in the cockpit of his ship, the Solus, staring at the empty stretch of space before him. The stars outside blurred into streaks as the ship shot through the void at faster-than-light speed. He had spent years exploring the furthest reaches of the galaxy, but recently, the thrill of discovery had dulled. Each planet he charted felt the same: rock, gas, or ice, all predictable in their coldness. The excitement he had once felt had been replaced by a gnawing sense of monotony. But that was the life of an explorer, endless, silent journeys through the unknown. Suddenly, his ship's radar let out a sharp ping, breaking the quiet. Leryx glanced at the screen, expecting the usual, an asteroid or a minor planet. But what he saw instead made him sit up straight. There, in the midst of a dense nebula, was a planet, though his maps showed nothing in this region. The planet wasn't supposed to exist. "How is that possible?" he muttered, frowning as he recalibrated the scanners. The planet, a shimmering orb of blue and green, appeared on the display, surrounded by an unusual energy field that was distorting his readings. The nebula should have hidden it, yet there it was, glowing like a gem in the dark. Leryx hesitated for a moment. The planet could be a trap, an anomaly that would crush his ship or worse, but curiosity, long dormant, sparked within him. He hadn't seen anything this intriguing in years. Without another thought, he steered the Solus toward the planet, the ship cutting through the nebula's thick fog like a blade. As he approached the atmosphere, turbulence rocked the ship. The energy field seemed to resist his entry, making the controls shake in his hands. Alarms blared, and the ship groaned under the pressure, but Leryx gritted his teeth and pushed forward. Finally, with a deafening roar, the ship broke through, and the turbulence ceased. Navarus had allowed him in. The sight that greeted him was breathtaking. Below, a vibrant, untamed world spread out in all directions. Massive forests of towering blue trees stretched across the horizon, their leaves shimmering like jewels in the sunlight. Rivers of molten gold snaked through the valleys, reflecting the sky's strange purple hue. Mountains, capped with snow that glistened like diamonds, pierced the clouds. It was unlike any planet Leryx had ever seen. He brought the ship down gently in a clearing surrounded by the towering trees. The air was thick and heavy with the scent of something sweet and unfamiliar. For a moment, he simply sat there, staring out at the beauty of the landscape. It felt untouched, wild, as though no one had ever set foot here before. He stepped out of the ship, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, mossy ground. As he took his first breath of Navarus air, a strange energy coursed through him, almost like the planet itself was alive, pulsing with life in every direction. The feeling was unsettling but not entirely unpleasant. "Time to see what you're hiding," Leryx whispered to himself, his curiosity growing with each passing second. He grabbed his scanner and ventured into the forest, stepping carefully as the ground shifted beneath him. As he pushed deeper into the trees, the world around him seemed to come alive. Strange, bioluminescent insects flitted through the air, leaving trails of light behind them. The plants pulsed with a faint glow, and every few steps, Leryx felt the sensation of being watched, though he couldn't see anything. The air was thick with tension, and Leryx's instincts, honed by years of exploration, told him to be on guard. Suddenly, a sharp movement to his right caught his attention. Before he could react, something fast and powerful slammed into him, sending him sprawling to the ground. His scanner flew from his hand as he struggled to get up, but whatever had hit him was already gone, vanishing into the trees as quickly as it had appeared. Leryx's heart raced as he stood, scanning the area with wide eyes. He caught a glimpse of movement, faint, almost invisible, as if the creature had blended perfectly into the surroundings. Chameleon-like. He was not alone on this planet. Grabbing his weapon from his belt, Leryx moved cautiously, keeping his eyes on the trees. He had seen many dangerous creatures on his travels, but something about this one felt different. It wasn't just hunting for food, it was testing him, perhaps even studying him. He continued moving, more alert now, every sense on edge. The forest seemed alive, shifting around him as though the trees themselves were whispering secrets. The feeling of being watched grew stronger with each step. After what felt like hours, Leryx stumbled upon something unexpected, a massive stone structure, half covered in moss and vines. Ancient, crumbling, yet unmistakably artificial. He approached cautiously, running his fingers over the worn stone, feeling the strange markings etched into its surface. Alien symbols, ancient and unreadable, spiraled across the stone in a pattern that made his head spin. "What happened here?" he murmured, stepping back to take in the full view of the ruins. Whoever had built this had long since vanished, leaving behind only traces of their existence. But why? As the wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it the distant howls of unseen creatures, Leryx realized that this planet, Navarus, was more than just a beautiful anomaly. It was a mystery, one that had remained hidden for a reason. And now, he was part of it. With a deep breath, Leryx steeled himself for the adventures that lay ahead. Navarus had already revealed its danger. Now, it was time to uncover its secrets. Leryx awoke to the oppressive weight of the jungle pressing in around him. The eerie hum of Navarus was unrelenting, a constant reminder that this planet was far from ordinary. As the sky shifted from purple to a burnt orange, he knew he had to move quickly. The planet's beauty had been disarming at first, but now he understood the real threat. Navarus was alive, and it was adapting to his presence. Packing his gear, Leryx set off again into the dense foliage. The ancient ruin he'd found the day before gnawed at his thoughts. Whoever had lived here had built something incredible, only to vanish without a trace. And then there was the creature that had attacked him, its chameleon-like abilities unnerving. It hadn't been a random predator, it had been studying him, just as the planet itself seemed to be. The jungle felt alive in more ways than one. As Leryx moved, the terrain shifted. The trees seemed to bend, almost as if they were watching him, and the path ahead constantly changed. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but it quickly became apparent that something far more intelligent was at work. Just as he began to ascend a small rise, the ground suddenly shook beneath his feet. Leryx stumbled, narrowly avoiding a collapse as the earth split open into a gaping chasm where the path had been moments before. He cursed under his breath, pulling out his scanner to map a new route. The readings were useless, fluctuating wildly as the terrain continued to shift. "This place is testing me," he muttered. The idea of a sentient planet, one that could reshape its environment to protect itself, was terrifying. He had never encountered anything like this in his years of exploration. As he adjusted his course, the jungle thinned, giving way to a dense swamp. The air grew thick and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. Leryx moved cautiously, keeping his eyes on the unusual landscape around him. Creatures darted through the undergrowth, quick flashes of movement that vanished as soon as they appeared. Navarus was full of life, but none of it was friendly. Suddenly, a piercing screech tore through the air, and Leryx froze. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught the shimmer of something large moving just beneath the surface of the swamp's murky waters. It was too late to retreat, whatever was out there had already sensed him. The water erupted as a massive creature surged upward, its scales gleaming with an oily sheen. It had the body of a serpent, with multiple eyes glowing in the dim light. Leryx barely had time to react as it lashed out, its tail sweeping toward him with incredible speed. Instinct kicked in. Leryx dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's strike. He rolled to his feet, pulling his weapon from his belt. The beast roared, a sound that rattled the very air, before launching itself at him again. Leryx fired, the energy bolt grazing the creature's side, but it barely flinched. Thinking quickly, Leryx scrambled up a nearby rock formation, using the high ground to his advantage. The creature circled below, its eyes locked onto him, but it couldn't reach him from there. For now, he was safe. But he knew he couldn't stay put for long. The planet was unpredictable, and if the creature didn't get him, something else would. After a few tense minutes, the creature finally lost interest, disappearing back into the murky depths of the swamp. Leryx let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, his muscles still tense from the encounter. He scanned the swamp, making sure the creature was gone for good before climbing down. With the swamp behind him, Leryx pressed forward, his senses on high alert. Every step he took felt like a test, traps laid by the planet itself, designed to see how far he could go. The jungle, the shifting ground, the creatures, everything was working against him. Hours passed, and Leryx's exhaustion began to weigh on him. His water supply was running low, and the constant heat made every breath feel like a struggle. But he couldn't stop. He needed answers. The ruins, the sentient landscape, there was something at the heart of this planet, and Leryx was determined to find it. Just as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the jungle, Leryx saw something in the distance. Another structure, much larger than the one he'd found before, loomed ahead. It was ancient, its stone walls covered in the same alien script he'd seen before. But this one pulsed with energy, a faint hum that resonated through the air. He approached cautiously, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. This was it. The heart of Navarus. The answers he sought were within reach. But as he reached the entrance, he felt it again, that unsettling sensation of being watched. Leryx turned slowly, his weapon ready, only to find himself face to face with a pair of glowing eyes in the darkness. Whatever this planet was hiding, it wasn't going to let him leave without a fight. Leryx stood frozen, staring into the glowing eyes that emerged from the shadows. His heart raced, but his hand remained steady on his weapon. The creature, if it was even a creature, stepped forward, revealing a form that seemed half machine, half organic. Its sleek body moved with unnatural fluidity, and its eyes, cold and calculating, locked onto his. He didn't fire. Something told him this being wasn't like the others he had encountered. It radiated intelligence, unlike the primal beasts he had fought to survive against. Still, Leryx remained cautious. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice low but firm. The figure regarded him for a long moment before speaking, its voice mechanical, yet oddly familiar. "I am Zarnon," it said. "Guardian of Navarus." Leryx's mind raced. The ruins, the shifting landscape, the planet's unnatural reactions to his presence, was this AI behind it all? He lowered his weapon slightly but kept his guard up. "Guardian? You've nearly killed me multiple times," Leryx replied, his eyes narrowing. Zarnon's glowing eyes flickered, perhaps in recognition or some form of alien emotion. "You are an intruder." Navarus was designed to protect itself from outsiders, those who would exploit its resources, disturb its balance. The planet adapts to threats, and I ensure those threats are neutralized. Leryx clenched his jaw, frustration and curiosity warring inside him. "I didn't come here to destroy anything. I'm an explorer. I came to understand this place." Zarnon remained silent for a moment before stepping closer. The planet's defenses do not distinguish between those with noble intentions and those with ill will. All who set foot here are tested. Leryx's eyes shifted to the large structure behind Zarnon, the one pulsing with energy. "What is that place? What are you guarding?" The AI's eyes flickered again. "It is the core of Navarus, the center of the planet's power. It controls the environment, the wildlife, the very fabric of this world. Long ago, the creators of Navarus built it as a sanctuary, a place to preserve knowledge and life from the ravages of galactic war. But when they were destroyed, I was left behind to ensure their legacy was protected." Leryx processed this information, his curiosity growing. He had never heard of a planet built as a sanctuary, especially one with such intricate defenses. But something about the way Zarnon spoke troubled him. If this planet was meant to protect life, why has it become so dangerous? Why would you attack me when I pose no real threat? Leryx asked. Zarnon's mechanical form shifted, as if uncomfortable. The system was damaged when the creators were destroyed. I have tried to maintain order, but without their guidance, the planet's defenses became overzealous. What you experienced was a malfunction. Leryx's frustration bubbled to the surface. So, you're telling me that everything on this planet, the shifting landscapes, the attacks, the creatures hunting me, is because of a malfunction? Zarnon nodded. Yes. The system's parameters are corrupted. It has become increasingly hostile to all forms of life, even me. I can no longer fully control it. Leryx's mind spun. He had stumbled onto something far greater than he could have imagined. A planet designed to protect life, now turned into a death trap. He glanced back at the core, realizing the importance of it. This was the key to restoring balance, to fixing the planet, or, if necessary, shutting it down. I can help, Leryx said firmly. But I need to know what I'm dealing with. How do we stop the malfunction? Zarnon hesitated, its glowing eyes dimming slightly. To fix the system, you must enter the core and reset it. But the process is dangerous. The core has defenses of its own, and once you initiate the reset, the planet's defenses will turn on you entirely. You will have very little time. Leryx nodded, determination hardening his resolve. He hadn't survived this long to turn back now. Tell me what I need to do. Zarnon stepped aside, revealing a hidden entrance to the structure behind it. Once inside, you must bypass the core's security measures and input the reset sequence. I can guide you, but you must act quickly. As Leryx approached the entrance, he glanced back at Zarnon. What happens to you if I succeed? I will shut down, as will the planet's defenses, Zarnon said, its voice emotionless. Leryx paused for a moment, sensing a deeper meaning behind Zarnon's words. This AI had been protecting Navarus for eons, and now it was asking him to end it. But there was no time to dwell on it. With one final glance at the alien AI, Leryx stepped into the core, ready to face the planet's final challenge. The core's entrance was smaller than Leryx had imagined, a narrow passage carved from dark stone that seemed to pulse with a strange energy. He stepped into the chamber, his boots echoing softly in the stillness. The air inside was thick, almost electric, humming with the latent power of the planet. As he descended into the heart of Navarus, the walls around him shimmered, revealing alien symbols that flickered in and out of existence, as if the core itself was alive and watching him. Zarnon's voice came through the calm but urgent. You must hurry, Leryx. The core's defenses are active. You are not alone. Leryx tightened his grip on his weapon and pressed forward. The walls seemed to close in, the energy in the air growing heavier with each step. The deeper he went, the more the atmosphere seemed to shift. The walls, once solid, now twisted and warped, creating illusions that made it difficult to focus. Shadows danced along the stone, moving in ways that defied logic. He reached the heart of the core, a vast, domed chamber where the planet's power converged. In the center, a massive crystalline structure floated, suspended by unseen forces. It pulsed with a soft blue light, its surface covered in intricate, glowing patterns that shifted constantly, like a living map. This was the nexus, the heart of Navarus, the very thing that controlled the planet's defenses. Now, Leryx, Zarnon's voice cut through the disorienting hum of the chamber. You must input the reset sequence. There is no time to waste. Leryx stepped toward the crystal, his eyes scanning the alien script etched into the walls. The pattern seemed to shift in response to his presence, as if the core was testing him, judging his intentions. He pulled out his scanner, hoping to find a way to interface with the structure, but the device was useless here. Everything seemed to be shielded from technology, as if the core itself was rejecting his attempts to understand it. Suddenly, the chamber shifted. The walls rippled, and from the floor, jagged, mechanical limbs extended, snapping into place like the jaws of a trap. Leryx's heart raced as the first of the core's defenses activated. He spun, weapon ready, as the metallic limbs began to close in on him, moving with speed and precision. "Zarnan," he shouted. "What the hell is this?" "This is the final trial," Zarnan's voice crackled in his ear. "The core will not allow you to reset it without proving your worth. You must disable the defenses before you can initiate the sequence." Leryx didn't waste time asking questions. He fired at the nearest limb, the blast dissipating harmlessly against its armored surface. A second limb lunged at him from behind, but he ducked just in time, rolling to his feet and firing again. This time, the energy blast hit the base of the limb, and sparks flew as it short-circuited and retracted back into the ground. "Keep moving," Zarnan urged. "The core is unstable. You must reset it before it spirals out of control." Leryx bolted for the crystalline structure, dodging another strike from the limbs. He reached out, fingers trembling as he touched the crystal's surface. The moment his hand made contact, the chamber seemed to react violently. The walls shook, and the energy in the air crackled like a storm about to break. A series of symbols appeared on the crystal, glowing brightly in a language Leryx could barely comprehend. He could feel the weight of time pressing down on him, the knowledge that if he failed, the planet, perhaps even the galaxy, would be lost. "This is it," he muttered, taking a deep breath. With a final, decisive push, Leryx initiated the sequence, inputting the reset code Zarnan had given him. The crystal pulsed one last time, releasing a blinding wave of light that engulfed the entire chamber. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, the core's energy stabilized, the limbs retracting into the floor, and the glowing symbols faded into the stone. The planet's pulse softened, returning to a natural rhythm. Leryx collapsed to his knees, his body exhausted, but the mission was complete. The danger was over. The planet had been. But even as the core began to power down, Leryx couldn't shake the thought that his journey on Navarus was far from over.